Thanks, Paul. Thank you to the team at Resources Rising Stars and everyone here today for the opportunity to present to you. This is our usual disclaimer. This presentation was uploaded on Tuesday onto the ASX platform and also company websites, so I urge you to read at your own leisure. As Paul mentioned, we just recently announced on Tuesday some more high-grade uranium results from assays from the Nabarlek project. But just to sort of round it off very quickly, is that DevEx Resources is a mineral explorer. We're exploring for mineral deposits. Our core goal is to deliver discovery drill holes for our shareholders. We're well on our way with the work that we've been doing this year at Nabarlek with some of the intercepts we're doing, and we're also busy drilling and thinking about activities also in Western Australia and New South Wales. What we're focused on, and to achieve that goal is to we've brought together a portfolio of high quality exploration projects located in several of Australia's most sought after exploration regions, both in Western Australia where we're exploring directly north of Chalice Mines, recent nickel copper PG discovery at Gonaville in the Julimar region. We've got a team on the ground now doing ground EM there now the crops have come off. Or in New South Wales, we're exploring for porphyry copper gold deposits in Australia's porphyry copper gold heartland. This year we announced intercepts from reconnaissance drilling at the Juni project, and we plan to be there early next year. We'd be there now if it wasn't so wet, so we're looking to be on the ground drilling in late January or early February, subject to the rains at the moment. Look, the core focus definitely is this year and over the last 6 months has been a drilling activity we've been doing up at Nabarlek project. We're located up in a uranium mining jurisdiction, the Northern Territory, where we're exploring within the Alligator Rivers uranium province. We're exploring around the Nabarlek uranium mine, which we hold, both the mining lease and 3 granted tenements, and that's where we've been active. We've got multiple uranium intercepts that we've been following up on, and also now we're starting to deliver results from that drilling campaign, and it's shaping up to be a very exciting year next year come the dry. As a company snapshot, many people will recognise some of the people, but core to that is our major shareholder and chairman, Tim Goyder. Quite a few people know Tim from his success with companies like Chalice Mines and also with Liontown Resources. Tim's modus operandi is to build good teams around him, support them, encourage them, get them out there drilling. You don't make discoveries without drilling holes, and everyone knows that story, but it is really key that you're not sitting around the water cooler, you're actually out there in the field, and DevEx is encouraged by Tim to get out there. We've got great ground anyway, and we're all keen to be exploring. As I said, you don't make discoveries without drilling those holes, and you need support, you need a good cash backing, and DevEx currently stands at about $19.1 million in the bank. That gives us that ability to maintain that exploration momentum across these projects. Key to that naturally is Nabarlek and all the drilling. We need to follow up on the results this year, but also what we're doing in both West Australia and New South Wales, and that's the momentum it's all about. So bear that in mind as we move forward. So just drilling down into the actual projects, starting in the Northern Territory where we've been very active over the last 6 months, moving to Western Australia and also into New South Wales. In the Northern Territory, exploring for uranium. We're up in the Alligator Rivers uranium province. It's not called a uranium province without good reason. Over 500 million pounds of uranium has either been produced or defined in current resources from the region. Big world-class, and everyone calls things world-class. So world-class deposits like the Ranger uranium mine, which has been mining uranium there for well over 40 years. It's decommissioning now, but over 269 million pounds has come from Ranger. Big deposits like Jabiluka to the north, and likewise the Nabarlek uranium deposit, which has also contributed to those pounds in the ground. Nabarlek, 24 million pounds at a very high grade of 1.84%. It was Australia's highest grade uranium mine. It was mined in the 1980s, or was mined in 1980 and produced uranium for about 8 years thereafter. We hold the mining lease at Nabarlek and we hold the granted licences around. So the red outline that you see there shows the granted tenure that we're exploring inside. We've got a broader exploration application portfolio there, which we plan to get to eventually, but we've got a lot of work to do anyway inside of those granted tenements. So it's busy times for us at the moment. Just to explain grade, a lot of people talk about grade, and uranium is one of those unique ones where people talk about grade and high grade in terms of ppm or percents and the like. Nabarlek, we talk about it in the percent. So 1% is equal to 10,000 ppm. So if you look at the African projects where they're mining at 800 ppm. Well, that's great. That's at 0.08%. We're talking about percents. And Nabarlek is a great example where it's all about grade. For those that want to see it in snapshot, this was mined in 1980. It took them 4 months to mine 24 million pounds from Nabarlek from surface. This is not in the Athabasca Basin where you've got 500 metres of material over the top that you've got to go down, freeze the ground and start mining. This is near surface, high-grade uranium mineralisation. Just hasn't seen the exploration for the last decade because of the uranium price. So Nabarlek, as an example, the cross-section on the right-hand side, if I look behind me, shows significant intercepts, 19 metres at 13% uranium. That left-hand image is a long section. It's really there to give you a sense of scale. The bulk of the 24 million pounds at Nabarlek came from that high-grade pod there. 25-metre scale bar is just below there. So it gives you the impression that these are not very large deposits, but gee, they're high-value deposits from what was mined at Nabarlek itself. So, 4 months to dig up that and produce over 8 years. So, that's what we're looking for. A snapshot of a Western Australian explorer exploring for gold. You go in on drill spacings of like 200-metre line spacings. If you went and drilled and you got an intercept there and you stepped 200 metres, you'd be somewhere down there, okay? So you've got to really focus on your intercepts and follow up on the results you get. So a snapshot for DevEx and Nabarlek is that we bought the uranium project, we bought the Nabarlek uranium deposit, the uranium mining lease back in 2008, got exploring in the area in 2008 when the uranium price was much more healthier. Spent a lot of money out there exploring, got a lot of intercepts. Come the Fukushima, come the tsunami and the rest of the events of Fukushima and the downturn in the uranium industry, all of those projects got shelved. All of those intercepts have been put on the shelf, and for the last decade, that's where they've sat. So now we're moving forward to 2022. The uranium price is starting to uptick. It's got a lot further to go. $50 a pound, I don't think is, and most people in the uranium industry will tell you, is still not enough to really get these projects going. But we think it's a good time to now start exploring, and that's why we're powering up there. We've been very active this year. So a quick snapshot inside of the area where we've been exploring, the mining lease for Nabarlek, located inside of that red outline, that's the mining lease, the Nabarlek deposits there. All of those magenta dots are RC and diamond drill holes that have intersected uranium mineralisation greater than 0.1% or greater than 1,000 ppm uranium. They're all significant intercepts. They all need to be followed up, and that's what we've been focused on this year. We've been focused immediately to the south of the Nabarlek mine at what we call Nabarlek South, obviously. We've been looking at historical uranium intercepts there. We've been drilling around that. We've drilled a lot of holes this year, and we're coming up with the results. We're also moving further afield, but within Kui of the Nabarlek mining lease at prospects like U42, where RC drilling was recently announced, some uranium equivalent grades of 1.9 metres at 0.4% uranium on very broad-spaced drilling. Those two holes that we drilled up there targeting the structure was 300 metres apart. So we've really got to get back in there and drill a lot more holes. There's significant uranium intercepts, and you don't get those intercepts every day. And just reaffirming a key thing about Nabarlek and about what DevEx is about, is that there's not a lot of high-grade uranium exploration in Australia. That's because this province is the province that produces it. And next to that is the Athabasca Basin. So just stepping back out for a second is to say that when you're looking for a high-grade uranium explorer in Australia, you've only got a limited amount of options, and DevEx is one of them. So just explaining Nabarlek South, which is immediately south of Nabarlek by design. What we were drilling is inside of this dolerite mineralisation. Again, near surface, we're talking about from almost 20 metres down to about 120, 130 metres. This is not deep, it's the targets here. So we're drilling an intercept which we announced on Tuesday. The results from the assay results was 10.1 metres at 1.1% uranium, including high grade internally in that. That also includes, we're really pushing the limits of the Australian laboratories at the moment. It includes even an intercept at 0.15 metres that's maxed out the laboratories in Australia. So the ALS laboratories, they couldn't report anything greater than 11.8% uranium. So that sample's on its way to the Australian Nuclear Science Organisation at ANSTO for further analysis. That's emphasising the rarity of high-grade uranium in Australia, so that the labs aren't geared up for the high-grade uranium. So we've got more results to come naturally. We're seeing very, very high-grade uranium. We're also seeing broader intercepts of, in our context, lower-grade uranium, but in other people's context, it might still be high-grade uranium. Intercepts like I think it's hole 27, where we're drilling sort of 52 metres at greater than 0.2% uranium. That's broad zones made up of lots of little high-grade zones all through it. We're getting greater than 1% all through that zone, but broadly over 52 metres at almost, well, over 2,000 ppm uranium equivalent grades. We're still waiting on the assay results from there, but as you're seeing from the Tuesday announcement, we're seeing the uranium equivalents reasonably matching what we're seeing from the actual gamma results, which we've been doing to calculate the uranium equivalent. Further afield at the U42 prospect, which I mentioned a little bit earlier, this is an example of the cross-section from hole 14. We were drilling and we were following up on uranium mineralisation in that flat-lying dolerite. There's low-grade or 0.1% uranium mineralisation in that dolerite. We felt that there was a structure feeding that, and so we drilled 2 broad-spaced RC holes down to about 200 metres, so still not deep in the uranium world. We were drilling down and we hit that structure at about 180-something metres, 187 metres, and we got a zone of about 2 metres long, or 1.9 metres at 0.4% uranium, or 0.6 at just over 1% uranium from the gamma results. We know there's uranium there. We've been up. We can see the chips. We can see the uraninite in the hole. We can test it with our XRF machine. We're just waiting for the assay results from the laboratory. So for me, that's a standout intercept in many ways. What we're drilling there now is basement structures hosting uranium, just like what you see to the south of the big Ranger uranium mine. We've drilled this on broad centres, 300 metres space. We've got a target back up dip, right up to that unconformity where most of the uranium hard rock people will talk about as being a core target area, such as what you find in the Athabasca Basin in Canada, and also down dip and definitely along strike. The map you see here is radiometric, showing the uranium channel. It's looking at uranium that's leaking its way through to the surface. And what you see is down where the bubble box in yellow is pointing at, that's hole 14. Hole 14, and the other hole to the southeast is hole 13. They're 300 metres apart. You just have to see the scale bar for a kilometre to get the point that this is very broad-spaced drilling, and yet it's starting to show results of primary uranium mineralisation. To the north of hole 14, where we got that intercept, there's no RC diamond drilling up there. We've got the radiometrics saying, go north, son, get up there, and so that's the plan. That's what we've got to do next year. Once the dry season hits, we've got to get out there in earnest with drilling, and infill drill, expand drill, and keep going with it. So it'll be busy times. All right, so moving across to Western Australia to the Sovereign project, where DevEx is exploring directly north of Chalice's recent Gonaville nickel copper PGE deposit. What you see here is a magnetic image. It's pretty much the go-to sort of image you want to see when you're looking for mafic, ultramafic intrusions. The Gonaville discovery by Chalice is down the bottom there, that nice little circular round magnetic anomaly in red. And then Chalice are exploring further to the north, following along their prospects to the north. Their tenements abut DevEx's tenements to the north, where we've got 2 tenements. One's a joint venture earn-in. We're on our way to earning 50% there, and also our own tenement on the right-hand side, or on the eastern side there. And what we're seeing there is we're located well within this mafic, ultramafic intrusion belt. To the north of us, Caspian Resources are exploring the Yelwerinda Brook nickel copper PG prospect up there. And our drilling this year and last year, our drilling last year is really seeing a very broad mafic, ultramafic intrusion. It's differentiated, it's the right rocks. We're seeing the right sort of rocks, serpentinites, pyroxenites and the like. It's broad, it's extensive, it's 12 kilometres long. Nobody's explored it before, so we're seeing it. We've drilled some diamond holes into it. We're seeing disseminated nickel copper sulfides in that zone. We're not seeing yet where they all accumulate to form the real bonanza grades that Chalice is talking about. That's our goal. That's what we've got to do. So we're on the ground now this week, and we'll be there for the next few months doing ground EM. We're looking for conductors. We're looking for where those sulfides all come together. We get the conductors, the rigs are coming in. So we plan, if we get the conductors, we're talking to drillers about drilling in February once we see those conductors start to emerge. So active there. We've had a hiatus due to the cropping season. Crops are off. Time to get drilling again and start getting on the ground. In New South Wales, we're exploring copper gold, really in Australia's porphyry copper gold heartland. Where we're located, that map is a bit of a who's who in the zoo. You're seeing Newcrest Mining's operation at Cadia Ridgeway up to the north, North Park's operation, again, both big porphyry copper gold deposits, and likewise the big gold deposits like Evolution's Cal. We're exploring along that southern extension to that belt, to the Junee Narromine belt. We're starting now to see from drilling we did this year a very large scale broad copper gold anomaly from the reconnaissance drilling and some of the deeper drilling we're seeing there. And that's what we plan to be doing. We'd be drilling there now. With the rains, we plan to be there. So just sort of zooming in on that area where we're focused. On the left-hand side is gold. That gold mineralisation we're seeing there from air core drilling and some broad-spaced RC drilling, that's occurring near surface. Some of those intercepts are from just below 4 metres, so it's near surface. And then, of course, the relationship with the copper and the alteration. That copper zone on the right-hand side, associated with the same gold zone, that's broadening to the south as we get close to that monzonite, which is the core rock, like at Cadia and likewise at North Parks. I like that shadow zone inside of that yellow box, and that's where we plan to be drilling. So once the ground dries out, and that's for everyone up that way, we plan to be up there in late January to start drilling these targets, and they're very attractive. And, I'm not selling a set of steak knives by showing you this fourth little pipeline project, but it is important area. This is the Cobar copper gold mining jurisdiction. Those that know Cobar know its long history there. We're directly north of the CSA mine, which Glencore has been mining for some time. Aurelia is in the area. It's all of these copper gold deposits, polymetallic deposits are located on this Rookery Fault. We won this tenement in a bid with the New South Wales Government. It's just been granted. We're working our way through land access and we expect to be on the ground there this year. That's my time. No worries. Well, just in summary then, Nabarlek, we're awaiting assay results and we plan to be back there in the dry season. And likewise at Sovereign, we're on the ground doing EM. So thank you for your time.